Broaden out the conversation now. Bring in our Bloomberg contributing editor and marketing guru who has consulted with many CEOs in his longtime career, Jeff Hazlett, joining me. Also with us from Washington is Senator Dean Heller, who is the ranking Republican on the subcommittee that will be questioning Mary Barra in just a few hours. So, Senator, let me start with you first. We've heard so much already from Mary Barra. What else do you want to ask her today?
Actually, there's a number of questions that I think need to be raised. First and foremost is we're bringing Delphi in for the first time for one of these hearings. As you know, the Rod O'Neill is going to come in. I think those are questions. They built the part, made the part, adjusted the part, and I think they do hold some responsibility, and we need to find out what they knew, when they knew it, and how much they contributed to the number of deaths that we saw over the last 10 years.
And if you find that they are, in fact, also responsible for these defective cars, what kind of action are we talking about, Senator?
Well, we will raise the question. I'm sure they're going to deny any responsibility here, and so we're going to ask GM if they feel that their parts maker had any responsibility. But keep in mind, Betty, this took 10 years. 10 years for them to figure out the part that didn't work, that was causing these accidents, that wouldn't allow these airbags to deploy. And once they figured it out, it took another 9 months after that for the recall. Think about that for a little bit. 10 years. I mean, if there's not incompetence or stupidity in this process, I mean, this is it.
Well, and Mary Barra has said, an admitted fault within GM for this inaction and then slow inaction. Jeff, what about Mary Barra herself and what her big risk is today?
Well, I think she's actually doing a really good job. I've said this from day one. She's saying we're accountable, not responsible. There's a lot more to be decided here with the legal system and going through. This is not over. We're going to see a lot more. But I think it's very good to see someone step up and say, hey, we're accountable. We're trying to figure this out. The biggest problem has always been the fact that over the years they've cut and cut and cut. They've taken out all these middle people that normally oversee this kind of activity, and they don't have that put back in. So a lot of that stuff gets caught. And I'm surprised the Republicans, quite frankly, aren't pulling in President Obama and asking him, because I think the government was in charge of GM for a while as well. So there's a culpability that goes around all across the whole system, but I think she's doing a really good job.
Well, Senator, answer that question that Jeff just raised.
Well, here's the problem that I have with the Valukas report. Even they will tell you that GM themselves, their upper management said they have no idea how their cars work. Why would you buy a vehicle from a car maker that their upper management will say that they don't even know how their own cars work? And that's why it took 10 years to get to this position. Think about that. They've killed dozens of people. They've recalled almost 30 million cars, and their own upper management says they don't know how their cars work. How do you sell a vehicle today, regardless of whether you're Mary Barra or anybody else in upper management, when you tell the auditor that you don't know how your own car works? Well, I think it raises a lot of questions.
Well, I still think Mary Barra knows how the car works. She helped design some of those cars. She's been there since she was an intern. And a lot of those folks that are in the upper management, I've met them. I've done some shows on them as well, as you have as well, and Matt. And I think they know what they're doing. And I think here again, there's lots of parts that go into these cars. They've got a long ways to figure it out, and the legal system hasn't figured it out yet.
Senator, let me play for you. Wait, Senator,
I don't know who the GM sympathizer is on the other end, but I just totally disagree. If it takes you 10 years to figure out how a part was made and what the problem is that killed dozens of people, why are we where we are today if they knew how their cars worked?
Okay, Senator, let me just play for you. We did an interview with Ken Feinberg a few weeks ago, just shortly after he announced his Victims' Compensation Fund. Senator, let me play for you what Ken Feinberg said to us about how this fund so far is going to work.
GM, I must say, has delegated to me, without any ambiguity here, full discretion to evaluate each individual claim, make a determination, and pay those claims that are eligible. And that program should kick in, as GM has demanded, around August 1.
Okay, so, we know that Ken Feinberg, he's been open about it, Senator, that he's getting paid by GM to administer this fund. Do you believe it will be, as Ken Feinberg says, independent?
Well, I would certainly hope so, but I think those are the kind of questions, Betty, that need to be raised in today's hearing. How independent can he be if, in fact, he's being compensated by GM himself? And obviously, there will be people on his staff that are also being compensated by GM. So the very question that you're asking needs to be raised in the committee today to make sure that we don't have some kind of a conflict here, and that those that are responsible are held responsible, and that these victims are compensated.
Jeff, what do you think about Ken Feinberg and this sort of unlimited, he says, amount of money that he has to pay the victims?
I tend to believe people have got good credibility and they're going to do the right thing, and that's what most people want to do. And I don't think they're going to step out of line. And he said he's going to be held independent. He'll be held independent. We'll judge.
All right.
To go with what the senator said, I'll be a sympathizer for business over government any day.
All right. Jeff, just hang on for a moment. Senator Dean Heller, thank you so much for joining us, the ranking Republican.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
On the subcommittee on consumer protection and product safety, and also, of course, Matt Miller, who will be with us all day long. We've got some